Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we're going to take a look at the astrological energies from May 8th until May 15th, as we have fewer transiting aspects this week, but we do have a lot of energy and motion, as well as perhaps a change of pace, especially right after the Taurus new moon on May 7th and May 8th. You could feel like you're finally settling in, that things are a bit calmer after the energized dynamic eclipses that we were moving through, plus Mercury retrograde in Aries that was delaying beginnings and perhaps not moving things forward as quickly or as fast as you would prefer. This is a week where we do have more that is actually solid. There's a sense of feeling stronger and more contained, maybe even more trusting and more allowing of what is unfolding around you. So we'll be talking about the transiting aspects of this week, but I wanted to begin with an update on the big solar flares we've been having since May 3rd. We've actually had a very active sunspot that has been releasing 6 X flares since May 3rd. And we have 2 sunspots that are super active right now on the sun. They are sunspots AR 3663 and AR 3664. And when they are facing Earth, they are much more influential and impactful on our energies and on what we are experiencing here on the planet. Keep in mind that both of these sunspots are ginormous. They are considered to be 8 to 10 times the size of Earth, and we have both facing us at this time. But keep in mind, the sun is always revolving, so that changes. But when we have these 2 sunspots facing us, that is a big deal, especially considering how active the sun is and how many solar flares, especially X flares, have been occurring recently. And this is all within solar cycle 25, which is considered to be the peak of the sun's activity. So we are certainly learning how to work with these higher, more rapidly moving energies. We are understanding as well that they can throw us off course. They can energetically be felt. Perhaps you feel exhausted or you feel hungry. Maybe your sleep is more disruptive. Perhaps there's just things going on that you're feeling internally, pulsing through you. Maybe it's working with your nervous system. Whatever symptoms you're feeling, whatever's coming up for you, know that this would be a time to understand how to manage it for yourself, because this is going to be an ongoing trend. And because the sun is so unpredictable, we don't know when, where, how the next one is going to occur. Now, keep in mind that when the sun is really active, it emits these powerful blasts of neutrinos. And those new neutrinos are coming on to the planet, and they're very high right now. There's a lot of them. So that means we're also being accelerated and activated. I feel that these intense solar flares are energetically flushing us out. So that could also be why you're tired or feeling really hungry, because you're working with more energy at a faster pace and basically more energy than what you're previously used to. So we have to look at where we maintain a certain understanding of energetic self-care, how we are able to be conscientious of that. And there's also a lot that is activating us into these new frequencies, where I feel like part of these solar flares are rebirthing us. You know, these neutrinos and these powerful rays coming from the sun are showing us more of how to hold clearer, purer energy. And you could be purging and flushing out more. I mean, this could be showing you a stark contrast between your own internal growth. I'm seeing it as a stark contrast between dark and light, because when we have so many new energies from the sun, which is pure light and warmth, from our perspective here on Earth, it will highlight what the fear is, what the darkness is, what the shadow is. And that could be something that you're seeing as being strongly illuminated and then quickly cleared. That's part of this accelerated energy that I'm feeling and sensing as well. So, of course, trust what resonates for you, but just know that with the sun being so active, not only does it affect us on Earth, but it then affects all the other planets. It then moves and infiltrates and makes an impact on the other planets, giving them new light and new life force, giving them new consciousness and new awareness. So I feel that this solar cycle 25 is really significant for the conscious evolution of each planet in our solar system, as now more light is coming forth and affecting each planet in its own way. So keep that in mind, especially as the sun will make conjunctions to each planet. Now, whether that is in your own natal astrology chart or in the transiting aspects, when the sun is coming alive with new life force, that newness affects planets, especially through a direct conjunction. And one of the biggest conjunctions we have this week is on May 13th. We're going to see the sun conjunct Uranus and Taurus at 23 degrees. And this could continue with these powerful, unexpected solar flares. Of course, this can also shake up even more on the planet and destabilize it. This can show up through more earthquakes, more shifts in the Earth's landscape. This can show up as chaos in Taurus energies, in Taurus expressions. So certainly related to creation, beauty, harmony. It could be harder to find those energies, or you could feel like you're working harder to stabilize them internally with so many disruptions happening externally. This can also show up as big fluctuations in finances, money, currency, the stock market. It relates to our resources from the earth, from land, and could manifest as surprising new discoveries, things that are coming to the surface that we're seeing for the first time and didn't know they were there. They're being unearthed. And that's one way to look at the sun conjunct Uranus and Taurus, Taurus being an earth sign, and Uranus unearthing surprising developments, shocking breakthroughs, the unexpected. And we've already been in strong Uranus energy. And that's because of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that we had in Taurus back in late April, which wasn't that long ago at all. And now the sun is coming through and highlighting more the next steps, the next development. But with Uranus, it isn't linear. It's quantum. It's wonky. Even Uranus as a planet is wonky. Uranus is sideways from our perspective. So there's things unconventional here that are continuing to be highlighted and to break us free, to break us out of something that we didn't even realize we were in. And so what I'm feeling here strongly with this sun conjunct Uranus, and again, we've already been in this energy, so it's probably not new. You're seeing more of how you're here to be yourself. And I feel like this is truly a Uranian lifetime for many people. Certainly, if you identify as a light worker, a starseed, you are energetically sensitive, you came in awake, right? You came in spiritually awake, and you're here to continue to grow and develop that. There's a lot of themes right now on the planet about what it means to continually awaken to your energy and what it means to be yourself and how that continues to shift and change throughout our lives, and certainly with these fast-moving frequencies. Uranian energy is quantum. It takes you further than the mind initially perceives. It shakes things up that can be very uncomfortable, especially in Taurus, which wants known entities, which wants comfort, which wants things to be clear, simple, Give me the facts, just the facts. This is how I want it to look. And then here comes Uranus bringing in what can be perceived as overwhelm, chaos, too much, feeling like you don't have a handle on something. But ultimately, Uranus and Taurus is shaking up what has been too stuck. And as I say that, I'm seeing it through the lens of the earth, almost like if there has been dried mud and concrete, something that's just very solid, then it starts to crack, then it starts to open up. And it's by doing so that growth occurs. And even though it is uncomfortable and unexpected, there's something new that emerges from it. So the Sun conjunct Uranus this week, it's exact May 13th, but we're feeling the energy already and it's continuing to ramp up. This is surprises where you could surprise yourself. And keep in mind, because I feel like there's a lot here about this being a Uranian lifetime, there could be some very strong themes coming up for you around where you need to go your own way, where something isn't working for you, and where you're stepping into a new level of ownership. And that is a Taurus keyword, ownership. And at first we could see it as our possessions, what we have immediately around us in our home. But this is the ownership of your energy. And the Sun and Uranus are highlighting what is now coming to your consciousness that you're ready to own, but in a different way, like in a new frequency, in a new light. And I'm seeing this being presented on a timeline where there could be something throughout your life that you've been struggling to own in yourself, or you've been trying to make it into something else. This could be something that has an ongoing misunderstanding in your life. It could be a pervasive quality where finally you realize, this is who I am. I'm not going to fight against this. I'm not going to push it away. I'm not going to dim my light. This is who I am. And that is more important than ever, because that's exactly, going back to this concrete cracking, that's exactly where what has been traditional and established and foundational is actually growing and changing with humanity's consciousness. And there's something right on time, especially for many of you who are leaders in your soul group, who are here to do things first, who are here to demonstrate what it means to live an authentic life. And this could be very challenging at first, very difficult at first. And I know that you could perhaps feel like you've always been the outcast or the scapegoat or the black sheep or the one who has been wildly misunderstood. You didn't fit in. You didn't feel like you were ever a part of something in the traditional sense. So this would be a time to be more thoughtful and aware of how that theme has been teaching you something about your authenticity throughout your life and what it means to now fully own it. Because when you own it, it changes how you love and accept yourself. It directly connects to your self-worth. And I'm seeing it too as stereotypes. Like we could have some set stereotypes of others, as well as some deeper programming towards ourselves around, well, this is how I should show up. This is how I need to take care of things at work. This is how my family expects me to behave. This is something that I've been told is proper, whatever it might be for you. This is where the universe is asking you to trust your differences, to trust your individuality and how you're unique. And it also feels like that's where you connect to fully loving and accepting yourself that you've been resisting. And I'm feeling that resistance. And that comes up with the Taurus energies where, if you don't want something and you don't agree or it's not for you, you resist it and you push it away. But Uranus and Taurus and Jupiter in Taurus for the past year have been presenting you with something that is truly you, to fully own, love, and accept. And that's the energy shift here. That would be the higher way of working with this. And to understand that even if it's been damaging and painful, that is your responsibility to work through that, because things happen to us in life, right? There's things we go through, there's things that affect us, there's things that come up. I mean, spanning the whole gamut of possibilities there. Things happen to us, but it's your responsibility what you do with it. What are you going to do with this from a self-loving perspective? How are you going to own something because you're worth it, because it's who you are, and because you know that in some crazy way, it beautifully contributes to exactly what's needed on the planet? And it's funny because there is something so uniting about this theme, especially for those of us who are passionate about astrology. You know, those of us who know that it's on the outskirts, although now it is a bit more mainstream, even though it's still misunderstood, that there is more here in astrology that's good for us, that's supportive, that's loving, that connects us through unity consciousness, that gives us tools and an understanding of the cosmic weather. And astrology is awesome because it's valid. If it wasn't valid, it would have phased out centuries ago, but it continues to offer us valuable insights, wisdom, a bigger picture, a roadmap. And modern astrology is connected to personal development, whereas ancient astrology was not. So now it's more personal for us, where we can become more self-aware. And I feel like every astrologer has gone through some kind of phase of, do I tell people I'm an astrologer or not? Do I put it out there or not? Because I know the looks I'm going to get or how I'll be misunderstood. You know, there's things where you have to strengthen your self-concept, your self-respect, and your personal sense of who you are through anything that you own, through anything that you declare as you. And so with this energy, you might be pushed to fully own something that you've been resisting, and it could bring you great relief. And that is something that I feel is coming up here too. Moving through some kind of threshold where the Sun conjunct Uranus is asking you to understand that exactly who you are is what's needed, whatever you've been wrestling with. And on the same day, May 13th, the ruler of Taurus, Venus in Taurus is sextiling Saturn in Pisces at 17 degrees, which is supportive for what you know to be true, especially on your spiritual path, especially around your self-acceptance, your self-love, even feeling truer to yourself, something that you're just receiving, and you're receiving it from the cosmos, kind of like those ongoing messages and whispers that we get through Pisces. This energy of Venus and Taurus sextiling Saturn in Pisces at 17 degrees is allowing you to really feel into something that is beautifully you. And this could be a shift that you're feeling, especially after this Taurus new moon on May 7th. And it could be something that you're allowing to be fully integrated, right? You're saying, yes, this is true for me. This feels correct. I receive this. I receive these parts of me that I've been pushing away or resisting, or that I wasn't allowing to grow and bloom. So there is a strong receptive energy here, even though it's quite alive and quite exciting. Keep in mind that the Sun conjunct Uranus is a change of plans, things not going as expected, right? Maybe something goes off the rails, or something develops here that brings in more chaos or throws off what you thought you would do. But Uranus is seeking freedom. And it could be that there's something coming through here that shows you where you need more freedom, where you need more sovereignty, even where you just need to do something for yourself on your own terms because it really matters to you. And that can come up during Taurus season where you get that value check. You get that understanding of, I want this, I don't want that. Or this is where I want more of this in my life and less of that. And that could be part of the unexpected realizations that come about as well. Now, over this next week, we also have Mercury in Aries closing out his time in Aries. And I feel that this energy is important not only because Mercury is clearing his shadow at 27 degrees of Aries, but Mercury is the lower octave of Uranus. And so this is important for the communication that's been happening between your human self and your spiritual self, where something is trying to get through to you. Something is a repetitive message that maybe you've been feeling or sensing, especially during that Mercury retrograde in Aries, and yet it's maybe been pushed off to the side or it hasn't fully come through yet. Mercury in Aries has something new for you to understand and to see in yourself. And it could be unexpected. It could be that, oh my goodness, how did I miss that? How did I not see that clearly? Well, the Mercury in retrograde can do that. It can make things seem uncertain. What do I trust? I don't have clarity yet. Over this next week, you could have clarity. You could have clarity about a thing, an idea, something personal, something subjective, a new project, a new intention, something coming through that surprises you and also gives you excitement. Like there's something about the energy rising up into a yes. Now, Mercury then enters Taurus on May 15th. And this is where that Mercury in Taurus is going to look at things through a very practical lens. Keep it simple, keep it easy, keep it calm. Now, Mercury in Taurus wants time to patiently consider, to sit with it, to assess, and then have a strong answer, a strong decision. So again, that's May 15th. And I feel like into the second half of May, there is going to be more that opens up that is so lovely and beautiful because we have really great aspects in the second half of May. Notably, Jupiter in Taurus at 29 degrees, sextiling Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees. That actually starts around May 21st, May 22nd, and it brings in a higher understanding of what you've been spiritually learning and where the universe is directing you to allow a fresh start to come in because of what you have healed and graduated from. When we have two outer planets connecting at 29 degrees, 29 degrees is that critical degree point. It's a graduation. There's something you're graduating through here in May. And it's something that is personal and internal. It could feel soft and subtle with these energies. It could feel like you're turning a page. I mean, it feels quite healing and loving. These are divine feminine energies. This is a sense of how far you've come, what you've moved through, where you've had to shift things that were uncomfortable, and you've had to be honest with yourself at a spiritual level, like where you've been spiritually slower with something. And I say slower because the Taurus energy prefers slow and steady. You didn't want to be rushed. You couldn't be rushed. I mean, keep that in mind, that we've had a lot of Taurus energies and they have a pacing to them. You can only go so fast and you don't want to go faster. So I feel like as we approach the middle of May, there's some type of culmination energy that is transitional. It is a graduation. It's showing you what you've learned. And it's also quite loving, kind, and compassionate. I feel that it's also an important part of your own ascension and awakening process. And you know, we've had a lot going on between the Pisces and Taurus areas of your chart. There's been a lot happening there. And it started in 2023 when Jupiter in Taurus was sextiling Saturn in Pisces. And as Jupiter in Taurus moves forward, makes that conjunction with Uranus, which happened in April, and now is sextiling Neptune. So there's things that it feels soft. of course, trust that for yourself. It's soft. It's like this. I'm seeing it as a rotation, like a slow rotation of a kaleidoscope where it slowly rotates and it starts to shine new colors, new light, new patterns. But again, it's been slow, steady, and something that only you know about that leads to new revelations. And keep in mind, Neptune being at 29 degrees of Pisces, the very last degree of the zodiac wheel, we don't have that every lifetime. There's a serious spiritual advancement happening in the collective at this time. And then here comes Jupiter and Taurus bringing in some kind of physical manifestation of that. It could be a dream being realized, something you've been working through, and the universe is rewarding you. It's bringing in the success. It's bringing in the achievement, and it's bringing in an opening here that maybe you were patiently moving towards, because that Taurus energy can be very heads down. Heads down, I'm working on this, I'm focused here, I gotta take care of that. It's not always aware of everything else circulating around. Don't miss this. I want to give you a heads up about what's to come in the second half of May, which is something coming through that is beneficial. And it could be an invitation, an opportunity, support, a resource. It could be something that you've been waiting on and waiting for. This will be especially true for those of you who have planets or points at 29 degrees of the earth signs. So 29 degrees of Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, 29 degrees of the water signs. So 29 degrees of Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. You could even say 28 degrees. We could say 28 and 29 because of how Jupiter is going to move across that point of 28 degrees and then get to 29 degrees to meet up with Neptune in Pisces. This is beautiful for trusting a dream, what you want to create, what is calling to you. This is the energy of beauty and harmony, patience, compassion. These are downloads of understanding and forgiveness, something that sets you free, something that allows you to move forward and to move on. Whether it's a big spiritual lesson, something you've been healing, something you've been learning about your own worthiness. This is all supported here as we move into the middle of May. So when you take that energy and you couple it with this strong Uranus energy that I mentioned earlier, that's also happening this week, you could feel very different and not know how to explain it. You could feel like your energy has shifted, that you're becoming a new version of yourself, you're elevating, you're moving through something. I know that's quite general, so of course just take what resonates and how it applies to you, but you could feel stronger. I'm seeing it in the skin, like stronger in that sense of self, stronger in your core self-identity. And this is part of how the zodiac wheel works. So the energies that start in Aries. Okay, Aries is the first sign. It's a beginning. Aries is about initiation, and it initiates through that fire energy of inspiration, creativity, trust in yourself, moving forward, leadership, taking it on. Then as the energies move into Taurus, they ground in a practical way so that they can stabilize. So whatever you were initiating in Aries has the potential to gain strength and more self-reliance in Taurus. And I feel this is an important thing to understand because of the strong emphasis we've had on Aries and Taurus energies in your chart, where you are being reprogrammed into a new self-concept, a new level of your self-identity that you're really being asked to own, because that's what the universe is looking for. The universe is looking for this expansion beyond who we thought we would be, because the bigger picture is how more new earth energies are coming onto the planet. Humanity is expanding in consciousness. We are growing in our ability to be in our power and to work with more spiritual energies, more energies that we've always had access to, but our consciousness and our frequency was not able to meet them. Now it is. Now it is. And it's almost like, do I trust this? Can I believe this? Could this be true? So you also want to be self-aware of how you would be shutting down parts of yourself that are coming online. You know, where are you trying to stop it or control it? Where are you resisting it or essentially not trusting your own evolution? Because this is a year of ongoing dynamic evolution into places we've never been before. And that's especially true with the outer planets and what is unfolding through rare cycles. And it's sort of like you have to buy in to your own growth. You have to say, yes, I'm here for it. Yes, I want this. Yes, I'm capable of this. Even if at the same time, you're like, I have no idea what's happening. I don't know where this is going. It's throwing me off. And it could be very well destabilizing parts of your life. You know, Uranus will bring up where there are cracks in the foundations of relationships, where there are cracks in the foundation of a career path or a profession, where you're seeing this isn't all of who I am. This environment, these friendships, these people that I know or these people that I live with, it could certainly be in your family. Wherever transiting Uranus is moving through your natal chart is where Uranus is working to crack open something that you thought was a sure thing, or you thought it was solid, true, not going anywhere, but it is. It's changing in a way that can be very unsettling at first. And so how we work consciously with Taurus energy is we actually go forward into Gemini. And Gemini is the next sign after Taurus. And Gemini is where you look at your options. How do I work with this change? Gemini wants you to open up to the various angles and understandings, to know that there are many things that can be successful or can be developed here. Gemini is about diversity, having multiple concepts and ideas to understand. And we're moving into Gemini season later in May. The sun will enter Gemini on May 20th. So I'm offering this so that if you're feeling that there's a lot going on, you're overwhelmed, and what do I do with this? You could feel stuck. You could feel stuck depending on circumstances or whatever you're experiencing in your reality. The next astrological sign of Gemini is going to bring in something to consider that perhaps you didn't see before, a new way of processing everything that's going on and asking you to get more information, to talk to people, even hear yourself talking, to get an understanding of the energy coming up through your voice, through your throat chakra. So know that there is a lot going on in the Taurus areas of your chart, but there's this beautiful system in astrology where every astrological sign is very different from the one before and after, and that's exactly how the energy keeps moving. It creates this progression of consciousness, this ability to keep the energy moving so you can see things in a new light or from a new perspective. Now, speaking of Gemini, just a few weeks ago, we were discussing how Sedna has entered Gemini and will stay there until 2066 or so, a good 40 years. And because Sedna takes so long to orbit and has a very irregular egg-shaped orbit, we haven't had this experience of Sedna in Gemini before in at least 11,000 years. And typically what we do in astrology is then look back at what transpired 11,000 years ago. Well, guess what? There was no Google. There wasn't a lot of documentation. So there's very little to work off of. But we know that Sedna moving into Gemini is going to bring alive these Gemini themes. And Sedna is about the depths of the ocean. And in fact, she rules all the animals in the ocean, because part of her mythology is that when she was essentially sacrificed and she was thrown overboard, she was thrown over the edge of a canoe by her father, who chose to save himself while sacrificing her, She was clutching on to the side of that canoe, and he cut off her fingers, which became the mammals and sea life of the ocean. So the sharks, dolphins, sea lions, seals, and whales. So she rules all of these animals in the ocean. And now that Sedna is in Gemini, I just mentioned on that podcast about how we could have new ways of communicating with these animals, or at least understanding their communication style, where there's certain things that we've picked up. Think about a whale's song, or how dolphins use echolocation. Echolocation is where essentially dolphins send out a variety of sounds and it reverberates off of something around them, and they know how far away another object is, for example. Well, there is something that just came out here as I was about to record this podcast, where scientists are starting to figure out what sperm whales are saying. And this is a beautiful depiction of the Sedna in Gemini energies. This article is in the Washington Post, and it's saying that researchers discovered a kind of sperm whale phonetic alphabet in the animal's strings of click sounds. It suggests they have a complex communication system. And so the article goes into what they are learning or starting to comprehend around how these species communicate and talk to each other. Of course, this is the Sedna in Gemini, which is also trining Pluto in Aquarius right now, which is giving us more understanding of what we didn't know, what has been complex. That is one thing that Aquarius rules, would be complex systems. So I thought this was a great example of the astrology unfolding, of what's coming through on our planet, of how we are gaining more information and intelligence through these understandings. Of course, there's so much we don't know. As the saying goes, you don't know what you don't know. But there's energy here that is helping us become better researchers, better thinkers, more intelligent, more aware of everything going on all around us. And this energy also directly contributes to our own consciousness, as well as understanding the consciousness of not only other living beings on the planet, but the consciousness that exists within all energy forms. If you are aware of astrology, you can see these themes showing up all over the planet through multiple forms, situations, and experiences. Astrology can really be found in everything. Now, it does take an expert to hone in on the energy signatures, but it is a very fascinating experiment, even a fascinating game to play or to identify how the astrology is showing up. Since we now have Pluto in Aquarius, Aquarius rules communal areas, gathering spaces, places that can hold multiple people. It relates to what we do as a collective, right? Where our energies are shared and they come together. Aquarius rules airports, for example. Think about all the complex systems within an airport, all the various things happening at the same time in order for flights to take off. You could look at it through the luggage system, through the organization of putting food on a plane, through going through security and everywhere you have to go or stop just to make that flight. Airports are great examples of Aquarian energy. And so with Pluto there, airports are going to be drastically changing over the next few decades. They're going to look different. The experience is going to be different, probably in ways we can't fathom now. I mean, they have all these new technologies. Like for your passport, you don't necessarily have to go through a passport officer anymore. It's facial recognition. It's a digital scan. You stand in front of a screen, scans your face, the doors open, you go in. So how many more of these kinds of technologies are going to be brought into the travel experience, specifically air travel? Pluto retrograde in Aquarius is going to continue to show us what's working, what's not, what systems are efficient and are contributing to the end result or where we want to go, and which ones need to be reworked or which ones need to change and shift. This is also going to affect anywhere that many people gather, especially to have a shared experience, sports events, concerts, festivals, performances. And Aquarius is the audience. It's the majority of people. It's how collective groups of people are both experiencing a change and creating a change. One example of Aquarius as well would be hotels, apartment buildings, condos, where there are individual units that create a whole building. Well, one example is in New York City. Over 100 hotels are now registered as hotels that are housing migrants. And this is being paid by the city because of how New York has had a mass infiltration of migration. And where do people go when there isn't enough space in the shelters or through public resources? So over 100 New York City hotels are housing migrants. And this is also an example of Pluto and Aquarius, how it's transforming hotels and their business model as well. Of course, that is a select case study, but it is an example of Pluto and Aquarius. And we're also going to see more changes happening on social media. As technology evolves and new technologies come online and become the new norm, we're going to have new versions of the internet, of social media, of websites, of everything we're doing online. It's going to rapidly change and evolve, again, in ways that we can't see just yet, but it's certainly already in play. And if you look around, you can see more of how these shifts are occurring. Even between the uses of different platforms, different social media platforms, especially since there are ones that are more regulated than others. And it's Pluto's intention to expose what's going on behind the scenes or undercover. So we're going to have many more revelations here about the impact of social media, especially the ongoing effect on our mental health. Yes, there have been studies for years about that, but there's going to be more that we're going to scientifically understand. I'm thinking back to when Facebook came out, which was, I believe, 2007, 2008. So that would have been when Pluto was just going into Capricorn, 2008, 2009. So now we're going to see, okay, what effect have these platforms really had on our way of life? And are they creating more connection or greater disconnection, where we think we just have to be on a device or on a screen in order to connect with other people? Yes, the whole world is now open to us, but at what cost? And what is the quality? Are these quality connections, or are they frivolous and now you have a huge list of acquaintances but no real close friends? And we are relational beings. We're designed to have connection, to know others, and to be in aura with others. So I think that we're going to see some big changes here as more people realize they've only gone so far with social media. Now they want real, true, in-person friendships, connections, and relationships that also are of a better quality. So all of this and more is what is happening in our world now. And of course, it all directly relates to the astrology of this time. Now, for those of you more advanced in astrology, who are certainly intermediate, moving into advanced, you also want to be looking at what's going on in your progressed chart, because your progressed astrology chart is another timeline of your energy. And as Pluto moves into Aquarius, it's opening up more in your progressed chart. It could be working with energies in unexpected ways. So please take a look at your progressed chart. This is also super important to look at how your progressed moon is moving, or where your progressed sun is this year, because that progressed sun only moves 1 degree a year and highlights a particular energy or theme. So the progressed chart could be explaining big life events. And that's one thing that it offers, is that you might not see it in your natal chart, but then when you identify it in your progressed chart, you're like, oh, wow, that's huge, especially when your progressed sun changes signs. When your progressed sun moves from, let's say, 29 degrees of Taurus to 0 degrees of Gemini, that's important to realize, and that only happens a few times in your life. The progressed sun changes only a few times throughout your whole lifetime. So these are the kinds of things that can help you understand the themes coming up for you, what you're experiencing that maybe your natal chart isn't emphasizing, but your progressed chart does. So be sure to look at that, and also note that I can help you understand it. I can help you read it through a program I offer called How to Read Your Progressed Chart. I take you step by step each planet, what it means, what to be aware of, how to understand the significance of it as well. I have many case studies in this program. So we look at other people's charts, which is always great for learning and for referencing. So I will put a link below the podcast so that you can see what is unfolding for you here in 2024, especially if it's really highlighted in your progressed chart. As we move through May, I hope you are feeling and sensing the higher vibes of this time. I hope you're feeling the support of Jupiter in Taurus. And I hope you're also feeling your own growth, your own beautiful growth, because it certainly has been a long, windy road. But maybe this month will bring you something that validates how far you've come. Thank you for joining me. As always, I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday for a new podcast episode. Wishing you a beautiful week ahead. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you're interested in any of my courses, you can find them at mollymccord.online. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you back here soon.